So today I'm finally going to be showing you guys my brush collection and also a little declutter as we go through my brushes. I have a good amount of brushes. I don't have too many in my opinion, but I do have a few, and I do have duplicates of some brushes because I like that style of brush a lot. So I'm gonna be taking you through all of my brushes, from eye brushes to blush brushes and foundation brushes, not including any makeup sponges and that kind of stuff. I really only have a couple, the Eco Tools one and the Beauty Blender, and that's it currently in my collection, so not super exciting. But if you want to see all of the makeup brushes that I currently have in my collection and also a little declutter, then keep watching. So these are my brushes, and I'm gonna sort through them quickly because I want to separate them into categories like face and eyes, blush, bronzer, that kind of stuff. Okay, these are all of my brushes. Now, I did try to categorize them, but a lot of these brushes are for multi-use, so these are basically the categories I could come up with. I'm gonna start with eyes because, I mean, that's just kind of its own little category, right? Okay, so these are the eye brushes that I have here. So I have two eyebrow brushes that I have from Anastasia Beverly Hills. The number has worn off on one of them, but I think this is the number 12 brush. And then this one is the number 7. Between the two, I definitely use this one more, which I think is 12. I just prefer the, I guess, bristles on this larger brush because they're a bit more dense and they're a little thicker. This one is a really nice fine brush, which I still would like to use sometimes for eyeliner, so I will keep them both. I'm actually going to be keeping all of these eye brushes except for this one here, which is the Real Techniques Domed Shadow Brush. And the only reason I won't be keeping this one is because I'm not a huge fan of the shape. It's like a paddle brush, but you know, I definitely could probably use it for other things like concealer. But at this point, it's something I have never reached for. I think it's like too big for actually applying eyeshadow to the lid. And I could use it for concealer, but there's lots of other brushes I prefer. So this is the only one I'm going to be saying goodbye to. I will show you the other ones I have here though. So this is the Real Techniques Base Shadow Brush. This comes in a duo with this brush, which is the Deluxe Crease brush. So I really like this Deluxe Crease brush. It's nice actually for the lid or the crease. It's just like really big and fluffy, and I actually also really like this for concealer. This is very similar to another brush, which I will show you guys later. And then this is, like I said, the Base Crease Shadow Brush, which is a really thin, like lanky kind of paddle brush, which is great for applying shadow onto the lids. I'm a huge fan of kind of like this domed teardrop shaped type brush. So I have a couple of them here and I use these very frequently. They're probably my favorite kind of brush. So I have the Sephora Pro Drawing Shadow Brush number 41. This is probably the most tapered brush that I own in terms of eye. I really love how this one just comes to a really sharp point, but it's really beautiful for doing crease work and also for doing inner corner highlight. This is the Sephora number 31 brush. It is the Sephora Smokey Crease brush, and I also really like this one. This brush is a brush I normally use to kind of erase mistakes. It's not something that I put color down with. It's more of something where if I put too much shadow down, I use this to kind of brush it away. I also use this to really buff out the crease. It's really great for that. The next three are very similar, but also different. We have the Crease Shadow Brush from Sephora. This is the Basics collection. I don't think they still have this anymore, but this is a really simple, easy to use brush. It is just great for doing crease work, for blending out eyeshadows. I'm really sad, but I think they discontinued this, at least in North America. Then we have the Zoeva Luxe Crease Brush. This is 228. This is very similar to a MAC brush, which I've completely forgotten the name of. It's just that quintessential dome-shaped brush, which I love for, again, crease work or blending out shadows. And then this is a newer brush that I've added to my collection, which I also really love. It's quite soft. soft. It's definitely not as soft as Sukyu or Hakuhodo, but it is a really nice soft brush, and I also really like the shape of this one. This is the Smith 230 brush, which I think is the smaller of the two. I think they have two dome-shaped brushes, and this is the smaller one. But I really like it. As you can see, I use this quite a bit. I have to clean it. It has really light bristles, so they get dirty very easily. And then another Zoeva brush. This is the Luxe Petit Crease brush. This is a bit denser and smaller, and gives a bit more of a precise application in the crease, but it's also really great. It's one of my, like I said, favorite kind of style of brushes. These two are similar in shape. They're kind of more like paddle brushes for the eye. So we have the MAC, I believe this is 230. I have rubbed the number off here. This is a really nice dense brush for applying color or glitter onto the eye. And then this is the Sephora Pro Small Shadow Brush number 15. This is an amazing brush. I actually really like it. This is definitely a contender for my other favorites, which are like the dome shaped ones. This is a lot more versatile than it would make you think. I really love how small it is because I do have quite small eyes, so this, like, you know, gets onto my eye and it's not too overwhelming. And it's also really great also for doing crease work, because you can just kind of flip it onto the top and you can apply shadow that way. And also I really like the Sephora brushes because they're quite soft and quite well made. This is probably one of the more well-known brushes in the makeup community. This is the MAC 217 or 217, and this is before they redid their brush line. This one still has natural hair bristles. I believe all of the new MAC brushes that they've released lately are with synthetic bristles or hairs, so don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what they've done. So if you have been kind of avoiding MAC brushes because they weren't cruelty free, I would check them out again, because I believe they are now using synthetic hairs. But I love this brush. It's a really great shape. It is similar to this Real Techniques brush. As you can see, it kind of has a similar shape. The MAC one is definitely a bit softer and a bit more flexible, and it just picks up color a little bit better than the Real Techniques one, but I still really like this one because this is also really great for blending out cream shadows also. And then the last three brushes we have all from Real Techniques. This one is actually a detailer brush. It comes with the core collection set from Real Techniques. I actually use this as a lip brush, rarely as a detailer brush, but I still kind of include it in the eyes because it's small, and sometimes I will use it for like inner corner highlight. These other two brushes are recent purchases from the Instapop collection from Real Techniques. The bigger one is the shade brush, and then this one is the crease brush. I did a review on this actually, so I will link it here if you want to go check it out. But this is probably my favorite of the two. It's just really small. It fits really nicely on my lids. This is also okay on the eyes, but I do prefer it as a concealer brush. And it's also quite similar to one of my other favorite concealer brushes, which I will show you guys in a second. I don't really have a lot of eye brushes to begin with, in my opinion, but these are the ones I will be keeping, and this is the one I will be saying goodbye to. Okay, these are a combination of concealer brushes, highlighter brushes, sometimes bronzer, sometimes contour. So let's start over here with the concealer brushes. I occasionally like to use brushes to blend in concealer. I actually go through phases where sometimes I just use like my fingers and sometimes I'll use brushes. When I do use brushes, however, these are the ones I really like to use. So these two are from the Hakuhodo Sephora collaboration, which they did a couple of maybe a year or so ago now, maybe 2 years. And I just really like the shape of it. It is, you know, really dense brush. It has like this slight angle to it. It is synthetic bristles, which is nice to work with cream products. This is the brush that I mentioned was similar to the Real Techniques Instapop shade brush. Obviously the bristles are not equal length, but you can see there's like a bit of an angle to them. And I think that's why I like these brushes for concealer, because they fit just really nicely under the eye. This is the other concealer brush I have. It's the number 57 Sephora Sephora Collection Pro Airbrush Detail Brush. And I like this one also because it's just like really big and fluffy, and it is very similar to this brush, which is the number 31 brush, but as you can see, it is just like much more fuller and has like a flatter top. It's really great for concealer. This is perfect for those pot concealers specifically. This is another similar brush, which is the Real Techniques Deluxe Crease brush. As you can see, again, it's just not as tall, but it almost has like the same circumference, but not quite. But I love these brushes for applying concealer. They're definitely one of my go-tos. Again, there isn't much, actually any, in this category that I will be saying goodbye to, because I actually really love using all of these brushes. So as you guys know, I have a huge affinity for brushes in the dome shape, not just for eyes, but also for face. So I have quite a few of them. So this one is the Hakuhodo brush. I've already forgotten the number. It's kind of a weird numbering scheme, but this is super incredibly soft. I don't know if they still have this brush. I got it from IMATS many, many years ago. But if you do like this shape, you must check out the Goss brushes. I believe he has 2 brushes, cheek brushes, that come in this shape, and they come with the black natural hair or a white natural hair, but they are incredibly soft, and Goss brushes are very, very soft. I have his airbrush, which I will show you in a minute, but it is one of the softest brushes I've ever felt. These are the other kind of dome shaped brushes that I own. If you are looking for like a more affordable version of this brush, the Goss version of this brush I think retails for about $35 US, but you can also try the contour brush from Real Techniques. It is a little bit wider and fatter. It's obviously not as soft, but it is synthetic, so it's great for cream products. But I love these brushes for applying cream bronzer or blending out cream bronzer, and also doing cream blushes. Then we have the Smith 112 brush. Now this is their bronzer brush, but it's a very multi-purpose brush. I have been using this for bronzer, for powder, for highlighter, for blush. I would definitely consider picking up another one of these brushes because they are quite soft. Again, not as soft as the Hakuhodo, not as soft as the Goss, but still very nice on the face. It doesn't feel scratchy, and I just love the shape of it. It's a little bit taller than the Hakuhodo brush, but it does come to like a really nice, not too much of a point, but a really nice point there, that's great for, again, applying lots of different powdered products. And then these 2 are the Hakuhodo Sephora Collection Collaboration brushes again. I believe these are the highlighter brushes, but again, I use these for anything. Contour, sometimes highlighter, just sometimes to like spread powder all over the face. I, again, really love this shape. These are probably my favorite contour brushes because they're really small and they're precise, and they come to like a really nice point, but they're kind of a paddle shape. These are the setting brushes from Real Techniques, and they're quite nice. They're really affordable. They're under $10, but multi-purpose. So you can use these to set your under eye. They're small enough to work well under the eye. And again, like I said, I use it for contour very often. So these are highlighter brushes that I really enjoy using. The MAC 188 brush is a stippling brush, but it's also really great for highlighter, especially kind of the more pigmented ones, because it really helps diffuse it if you don't like too much of a sheen on your face. This is another Hakuhodo brush, and I go through phases using this brush. It's definitely better for more kind of subtle highlighters. It's not so great for really pigmented highlighters because I feel like the bristles are too flexible that they don't really diffuse the product well enough. But this is great for subtle highlights like the Laura Mercier Baked Radiance highlighter or the Cover FX powder highlighter. So I do like that also. And then these 2 are probably my favorite highlighter brushes. I just picked up the Sephora Pro Highlight Brush number 98 a few weeks ago, probably 6 or 8 weeks ago now, and I love this brush. This brush is now my favorite highlighting brush. I just love the shape of it. It's really soft. It picks up powder really well. It helps apply product really well. It diffuses highlighter really well. So this is definitely my favorite highlighter brush. It replaced this one, which is the Anastasia A23 brush. As you can see, they're very similar in shape, but the Sephora one I feel has a few more bristles. Like it's more densely packed, and you can see how it kind of, I wouldn't say splays out, but it's definitely a fluffier brush. This one is really nice too. I really don't think you can go wrong picking either one of these brushes, and they're at around the same price point. So it's not like one is significantly less expensive than the other. So these are my highlighter, contour, concealer brushes, and sadly I didn't get rid of anything, but I think it's a good thing because it means I actually use these brushes and I love them. Okay, these are some face brushes that I use. So things that I use to blend out foundation and concealer sometimes. So I have the Smith 115 brush. Now this is a new brush. I bought this from Beautylish a week or so ago and I actually really like it. I have been mainly using it with foundation, and I typically don't apply foundation with brushes, but I have been really enjoying using this. It is a mix of synthetic and also natural hair, which is such an odd combo, especially since all of the bristles are essentially flush with one another. Typically when you get that mixed fiber, either one side will be synthetic and one side will be natural, or it will be like a stippling brush. But this one actually mixes both hairs together, which is, I think, is really unique and also really great for blending out products. I've also used this actually for cream blush and it works beautifully. I don't know what it is about this brush. I think it's just unique in my collection. Also, I don't have any other brushes in this shape. This is probably my favorite multitasking face brush. This is the Zoeva 110 face shape brush. I like to use this for lots of different things, for blending out a foundation, for concealer, for cream products. It is so multi-purpose. I love how small this is because it gets, you know, everywhere on your face, and it's super soft and synthetic, so it's great for cream products. I love this brush. I definitely pick up more. This guy I'm gonna say goodbye to because I actually never use it. I picked this up because I thought it might be a great powder brush or maybe like a foundation brush, but I actually just never reach for it, and it's not great for applying powder because I just feel like the powder tends to like stick in one place when you use this, and it's not great at buffing product out. It's also not excellent for blending out cream product for me. I don't know why. Maybe again, it's the same thing. Product just kind of sticks where you apply it, and it's so hard to blend everything out. It is a really nice soft brush though, but just not a fan of it, so I'm gonna say goodbye to this one. I really love this multi-purpose brush, but I'm gonna say goodbye to it because I've just noticed that it's been shedding a lot. Every single time I wash it, tons and tons of hairs fall out. So I'm gonna say goodbye to this. I have this actually in a mini, which I'm gonna continue using because it's such a great brush for lots of different things, for powder, for bronzer, for blush, and I just really like it. Plus I really like that it comes in this like little mini short handle version. It's great for traveling. Other than these, I think I only have one other Real Techniques brush to share with you guys, but I'm gonna keep all of these because I really like them. I have two of the buffing brushes because I bought two sets. I really like these for buffing out anything, powder, foundation, regular powder, or buffing out foundation once I've applied it with my fingers. It just kind of helps smooth everything out. As you can see, just even between the two versions, so this is the newer one, of course, it is not as splayed out. It is a little bit more domed at the top here. I actually prefer, I mean, even though these two are the exact same brushes, I actually prefer the newer version. I think it's just because it's a little bit more kind of like a dome shape at the top. This one is a little bit more flat. Then we have the Instapop brushes, which I love. Again, I've done a video on them. I do prefer between the two, the cheek brush. I just really like it for blushes, but I also really like this one for, again, just buffing out any harsh lines I might have on my face from cream or liquid foundation. This is a brush I repurchased, the Expert Face Brush, which is a really great foundation brush. Again, not just for applying it, but for buffing out any harsh lines. So in this category, I have two brushes that I will be saying goodbye to, and these ones I will be keeping. So these are my cheek brushes and also my powder brushes. Let's start with these powder brushes. I used to be such a huge fan of these like ginormous brushes, but I don't really use them that often anymore. Rarely, actually. Nowadays, I prefer smaller powder brushes. So I'm actually going to be saying goodbye to this Chanel powder brush. It is a really really nice brush. It's like this dome shaped brush. I used to again really like this for powder, but I just prefer smaller brushes nowadays for powder. So I'm going to say goodbye to this one. I also will be saying goodbye to this Eco Tools full powder brush for the same reason that I don't really like to use these style of brushes anymore. This is a Hakuhodo brush, which I will be saying goodbye to. I just find that it sheds a lot nowadays, as you can see. Even just as I like did that, there's a whole bunch of hairs, hopefully you can see, that are kind of popping off. I've had this brush for at least 5 years now, and it's one of my favorite brushes. I'm not a huge fan of the white hairs because it gets really grungy really easily, but this was a really great brush, and I would definitely consider repurchasing it, but in a darker hair. I will be keeping this powder brush though. This is a Smashbox brush. I don't remember what number it is. They've actually since revamped their entire brush line, but I really like this like paddle brush, and it's great for those ambient lighting powders from Hourglass. Now this is the kind of powder brush that I've been gravitating towards. It's the Goss Airbrush. It's small, it's incredibly soft, it's great for getting into the nooks and crannies of your face. Plus I don't tend to powder all over my face anymore. I just powder where I need it, which is my T-zone, and this is the perfect brush for that. These two are also from Hakuhodo. They are the exact same brush, but they are different hairs, obviously. Between these two, I'm only keeping this one because it's softer. I like it more, but I like this brush for, again, applying powder. It's a really nice, dense brush. These brushes I typically use exclusively with blushes. So we have, like I said, my favorite type of brush. These are like dome brushes. Sonia Kashuk, number 29. I think they've also either discontinued this brush or renamed it because it's in a completely different packaging now. This is a Japanese, kind of like the Yashio NARS brush, which is nice. And this is Eco Tools. It is their Define brush. It comes in a duo with another brush I will show you guys in a minute. But I love these brushes for applying blush. I love this shape. All three of these brushes are also incredibly soft. This is probably one of my favorite blush brushes, and it's from The Body Shop. It's super soft, it's angled, it's great for applying blush. I do have a tendency to apply too much blush with this brush, but it's also great for buffing all of that product out. This is probably my favorite blush brush. It's the Chanel blush brush, and I just really like the paddle shape. It's kind of like that traditional shape, and it's really great for applying blush, and it blends everything out really nicely. I forgot to mention these two in my last little segment, but this is a Sigma flat kabuki brush F80. This is probably a classic brush, but I just never use it, so I'm gonna say goodbye to it. Honestly, if I have to use a brush, I'll use the Real Techniques brushes to buff everything out, or I will use the Zoeva face brush to buff things out. I will never really reach for this. This guy I really love though. This is the Sephora Pro Featherweight Complexion Brush, number 90. This is amazing for powder. I don't really use it for cream products or foundations or tinted moisturizers. I really just use it specifically for powder, and it's great. It's super soft. I also really like the shape of it. It's kind of like this dome shape. It's almost like a smaller version of the Chanel powder brush, but it's a really great, super soft brush. So these are the brushes I will be saying goodbye to, and these are the ones I'm keeping. So these are some miscellaneous brushes that I have. Out of this group, I will be saying goodbye to these two. I just never use this Real Techniques stippling brush anymore. If I need to use a brush for a cream blush, I have lots of others that I prefer. And I also never reach for this Sonia Kashuk fan brush. It's nice, but nothing to write home about. I really like these brushes though. So these were like freebies from hitting VIB Rouge 2017, and also this year. You can buy these brushes at Sephora. They just won't be in the red colorway. They'll be the black and silver, but they're really great. These also come in a full size with a regular size handle. So this one is 56.5, the Pro Mini Flawless Airbrush brush, and this one is the Pro Mini 55 brush. I like these brushes for lots of different things, for powder, for like blending out foundation, so they're really nice and also super handy to travel with because they're short handled. I also really like this one. It's the Sephora Multi Complexion brush. I just like to use this for powder, really. I usually just keep it in my makeup bag and a compact, and I use this to reapply powder on my T-zone. And then this is the Real Techniques Eco Tools highlight brush. This is the brush that comes with the Define brush that I showed you guys earlier. It comes in a duo. So these two would come in the highlight and define set. But this is a great fan brush. It's super soft, and it's also really nice for applying highlighter. So again, these brushes I will be keeping and these ones I'll be saying goodbye to. So there is a look at all of the brushes that I currently own right now and also a little declutter. Now I only got rid of, I did a tally, 9 brushes. Not my finest decluttering moment, but like I said, I use a lot of these makeup brushes. So I'm hesitant to say goodbye to a lot of them because I actually do use them. Plus, I think it's good to have a healthy amount of brushes. You definitely don't need a lot of brushes to get a makeup look done, but it's nice to have duplicates of certain brushes or brushes that do the same thing. Because if you are like me and you do not wash your brushes on a weekly basis, I will typically like store some of my dirty brushes in my bathroom and wait like a couple weeks, sometimes 3, to actually wash all of my brushes at once. So we need duplicates because I don't like to use the same dirty brush over and over and over again. However, if you are diligent with washing your brushes, you can probably get away with like 5 or 10 brushes in your collection. Speaking of a more curated brush collection, I thought I would conclude this video by talking about 10 brushes that if all of these brushes kind of disappeared, these are the 10 that I would repurchase first. It took a minute to narrow this down, but I have done it and I will show you guys quickly which ones they are. So no particular order, the Smith 112 brush, even though I've only had this for a little over a week, it has definitely become one of the staples in my collection. I just love to use it. Lately I've been using it for bronzer. It's just a really nice, small, tapered brush and it's perfect for the cheekbone, blends out product really nicely, quite soft. The Goss Airbrush, this is probably the softest brush I own right now next to the Hakuhodo brush, this one here. But I love this for applying powder. It's a really nice, small, tapered brush that's perfect for applying, you know, powder on your face and under your eyes and just everywhere. I also actually use it sometimes for blush. Very multitasking brush and it's super, super incredibly soft. Zoeva 110 Face Shape Brush. This is perfect for blending out concealer or foundation or applying foundation. I just love the shape of this, and like I said, I've been gravitating more towards smaller brushes and this is like the perfect little detailer brush. If I do need to buff out my whole face in a very quick and speedy manner, this is the brush I would have to go for. It's the buffing brush from Real Techniques. The upsetting part is that this only comes in a set, so you can't buy it individually, you gotta buy the core set, but I think it's worth it to get this brush. For highlighter, it goes to the Sephora Pro Highlight Brush, number 98. It's a perfect highlighting brush. I really like to use it. You can use it this way if you want really nice, like diffused look. You can go this way if you want more of a concentrated look. Super soft, blends highlighter out beautifully. This is a perfect brush for blending out concealer. It's the Pro Airbrush from Sephora, number 57. This fits really comfortably under the eye to buff out concealer that way. It's also great for actually applying like eyeshadow bases sometimes. I will use that for that, or diffusing any concealer I put over a blemish. The setting brush from Real Techniques. I love this brush for under eye powder. It's perfect for that. And also for contour. This is like the perfect brush for contour because it's small, it's tapered, it fits really nicely in the hollows of the cheek. Although this is not my preferred shape of a blush brush, this is definitely one of my favorite blush brushes. It's just really soft. It's one of the softer Chanel brushes that I've ever owned. They've actually revamped all of their brushes in the last probably year, so they don't look like this anymore, and I don't think you can get this brush anymore. But this old school Chanel brush was amazing. It's like perfect for getting product like right on the apples of the cheek and diffusing it out. Really love this brush. And then the last 2 brushes are eye brushes. So we have the Sephora number 15 Pro Small Shadow Brush, and then this one is the Sephora Crease Shadow Brush. These are perfect. So you have one to pack on product, lay down a base, also put product in the crease, and then you have another to like blend everything out so that it's seamless. So if all of my brushes disappeared and I had to go out and repurchase 10 brushes, these would be it. So I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Let me know what your favorite brush is, because if it's something I need to add to my collection, let me know in the comments below, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.